we have 311 miles of range on conserve mode. We've got a packed truck. All our stuff is in there. 4 people. We got the AC running at full blast. We're going to be going through a lot of hills. We're not going to get anywhere near what it says, obviously, but we're going to try to kind of drive it somewhat conservatively. Getting through LA traffic is going to be slow. And then going up to Ojai today, it's like 120 miles or so. Let's see what kind of range we end up using from 311. So if it was truly 120 miles, we should have about 190 left. But I'd be happy if we have like 140 left. Tire pressure, because I know you guys are going to be interested. Everything is at exactly 49 right now, and it's not warmed up. So once it warms up, once the tires warm up, they'll probably go to about 50, 51. But it's exactly all 49 all around right now. And what else? Conserve mode. As far as load, I mean, it's not a lot. A couple 100 pounds, suitcases, things like that. Boogie boards, cooler, maybe 200 pounds extra. 2 kids, 2 adults. So yeah, we'll see how we'll do. Should be about a 3-hour drive. Okay, so we just passed Hollywood. We've got about 46 miles and the range is at 270, 269. So we're actually tracking for a total of like 315, which is really great if it keeps up that way. We had a little bit of traffic, but I think for the most part, I was going around 75. Did slow down quite a bit for a while. Not a lot of hills getting out this far, just kind of slight different elevation changes. It's been pretty good. If it keeps up like this, I don't think we'll have any problems, because after Ojai, we're heading out to Carmel. Now, that is a 300-mile drive. I mean, pretty amazing if we did that on one charge, but obviously won't risk it. But yeah, so far we're tracking really. All right, so we're 78 miles or so into the trip. We still have 236 miles of range left. So over here in the trip summary, it does show that our efficiency is 2.23 miles per kilowatt hour, which is pretty good for the kind of driving we've been doing. I've been going, average speed is about 50 miles an hour, so you can kind of tell we did get stuck in a lot of traffic, but for the most part, I've been going between like 65 to 75 miles an hour. Tire pressure is up to 53 now that the tires are warmed up. I found that overinflated tires, even though not recommended, they give me such good range, and that's what we're seeing today. I'm also using the highway assist. Don't call it self-driving, or they'll tear you apart on the forum. Highway assist works really well on this freeway. Earlier on the 5 freeway, wasn't doing too well because the lanes were a little wider. I feel like it just had a hard time kind of finding its way in the lane, so it would just swing from one side of the lane to the other quite a bit. So I stopped using it there. But here the lanes they're not narrow, they're just kind of this like pretty perfect size, and I find that here it actually works really well. So I think it is very, very specifically road dependent still. It's gotten a lot better over the past 18 months of me owning this car. It does take a little bit of the burden of driving longer distances off, which is nice. Right now, 83 miles, and we're at 231. So that puts us right at that 311 that we started at, which is pretty incredible, actually. We've had the car now for about 20 months. And I've had very few problems. I don't have that many miles on the car. 10,843 miles. In that time, it's only been in service twice, and only once for a real problem, because the low voltage battery, which back in during that time there was, I guess there was some problems with it. They did some recalls and updates and whatnot. And I think they replaced my low voltage battery. That was kind of the problem I had. But then recently I took the car in for some very minor stuff. And one of the things that they did, they actually drained all the motors and they looked for metal shavings, which I didn't have any, luckily. And they did kind of a more comprehensive service around that. It took several weeks, which I wasn't very happy with. The best and worst part of this experience with the Rivian may just be the service. It's best because they're so courteous, so on top of everything to give you a call back and pick up the phone right away and stuff like that. There's a lot of room for improvement there. One is they don't really have a lot of answers. They're courteous to pick up the phone and stuff like that. But for example, if you want to find out the status of your car at the service center, no one can tell you that but the service center. So the people you're talking to on the phone, that's not them. And a lot of times I've gone several days, and I'm not kidding, I've gone 5 days without getting a response back from the service center, and I've placed a call once or twice a day to try to remind that I'm looking for an update. This is after a couple of weeks of them having my car. One of the things that could really fix that problem, and you may be watching this video in the future and the problem's already been fixed. Just remember, this is July of 2023. One of the things that could really help, there's a chat feature within the app where you can chat with someone at Rivian. Well, when you first, service chat, right? When you first initiate that, it tells you, hey, someone will be with you in like 10 or 15 minutes or whatever. So, you know, obviously navigate away from the app, but there's nothing that pings you to remind you, hey, somebody's actually now at that chat session trying to chat with you. So then that chat session dies and you don't actually get to chat with anybody. If they fix that, it actually really helps kind of fix the whole communication loop. And then that way you can actually complete a chat with somebody. I know it doesn't sound like a big deal, but that would have probably solved a lot of the reasons why I ended up having to call them. So I think the chat's a great feature. If they can just fix that one little problem, give me a notification that will be noticeable, one little thing. And then having direct communication with the service center would really help while your car is in service. Because going through whatever that customer service line is that doesn't have a direct line to the service center really doesn't help. It's just adding several hours. Oh, get that dog in the back of the pickup and piss everybody off. Oh, people get so mad that dogs are in the back of trucks. So get fired up about that, guys. Leave some comments. Anyway, so that's kind of the basics of the experience. My daily driving experience has been phenomenal. I love this car. In fact, for this trip, so we're driving from Orange County to Ojai, 120 miles. Then we're driving to Carmel in a few days. That's like a few hundred miles. And then we're gonna drive all the way back. Now, I've got a pretty bad back issue. For those of you who've been following, I was out for a few months last year. So I can't really be in a car for very long. I thought about renting like a bigger, like an ICE vehicle, like a Navigator for this trip, not to have to deal with the charging networks and stuff like that. But honestly, the seats in this car are just perfect for my back. So I decided against it. We're gonna find out firsthand for the first time how bad the charging infrastructure is around a non-Tesla type vehicle. Wanted to give you guys kind of a really good impression of what it's been like to own this for, 18 months or 20 months or so, using it pretty much daily. Again, I don't drive a lot and I do have other cars, so but this is my main driver. It's great for anything truck related, so making runs to Home Depot and picking up, when we were doing a remodel and front and backyard, I was picking up tons of stuff in this truck all the time. And then especially for the front yard with all the plants and things like that, I did all of that in this truck. So for truck related things, it's been great, as long as you're not doing really long hauls or something like that where you got to worry about range. Service, like I said, has been good and bad. Charging, I don't ever charge outside of the house, so that's this trip to find that out. I've done it once or twice, but just to kind of see what that experience is like, and it was okay. But even those couple of times, I had some issues finding a functioning charger, so I am worried about that a little bit. I'm looking forward to that getting better when the Tesla network opens up for everybody. keeping the car clean is actually kind of challenging. There's parts of this car that get dirty that you normally wouldn't associate with a car like this. Like the inside parts of the doors get quite bad. There's somehow lots of dirt and dust finds their way inside, and that's kind of a harder area to maintain. The front of the truck is just a flat wall, so it's just a huge amount of bugs and whatnot that I have to clean up every time I wash the car. Visibility is great. Driving dynamics, I think, are phenomenal. Obviously it's not a sports car, but as far as an SUV type truck goes, it's phenomenal. Great, really comfortable. Still get a lot of good road feel. Love the brakes and the steering feel. They're as good as anything I've driven in the past. Like I had a couple of Range Rover Sports, and that sort of vehicle before this, and this is as good in every one of those things, if not better. Off-road, it's been great. Done a couple of small off-road trails and things like that. No problems at all. The only thing I always worry about off-road is if this truck somehow gets stuck out there, it'll be a very long and interesting day to get it out. And so I don't like doing rock crawls and things like that anyway, but even on a trail, having a breakdown of any kind, which is not likely, but it could happen, would be a challenge to get a truck this heavy out. Especially since you can't really install a winch on there. I think somebody must have installed a winch on here by now. But the front bumper just doesn't really have like a good mount point for a winch, unless somebody does some sort of custom thing. I don't have any mods to the truck other than just a very slight tint in the windows, a couple of the eBay type compartments I've bought for storage, and that's about it. It doesn't need anything. It's been absolutely great, and it's fast. It is super fast. Cut away to us doing a quick 0 to 60 run. So last night we did a charge here at the hotel using these really cool Porsche charging stations, and we're at 100%, so that worked like a charm. It's a slower charger. I mean, this is just like a home charger essentially. It got about 20 miles per hour added, and we're checking out. So today we've got a pretty long drive ahead of us. We're gonna make several stops, and one of those stops will have to definitely be for additional charging. Yeah, these chargers are super fancy. And what I like about this resort, they have their Tesla chargers right there, and they have a whole array of other chargers here. And so we're at the Ojai Valley Inn, in case you're interested. There we go. And ready to rock and roll. That's interesting. So we use the Better Route Planner piece of the app to plan our route for the next few miles. We've got a charging station coming up in 54 miles. Hopefully it is available. And just got this message that it's preparing battery for fast charging, which is neat. Okay, so the first snag is here's a Electrify America station. Charger unavailable, and there's 4 people waiting for the 2 working chargers that are here. Awesome. Good job, Electrify America. So we did end up finding an EVgo charger along the way in King City, of all places, which wasn't a super pleasant place to make a stop, but it did give us super fast charging. We stopped at a very newly opened coffee shop in King City. Shout out to them. And right near that charging station. You won't miss it. And we got a pretty quick charge. I think we were there for about a half hour, and we got enough charge to continue on with our trip. The next few days we spent at Carmel Valley Ranch in Carmel, California. Well, technically Carmel Valley. This is an absolutely beautiful property and has access to places like Pebble Beach and Point Lobos and Carmel itself. But the property itself is actually a really great place to spend time with your family if you
are ever in that area. Also taking some opportunity here to use my Insta360, as you can see, and that camera is pretty awesome for doing shots out of the car and things like that. So at this property, we were able to actually use their chargers overnight and prepare for our trip.
So this is what you can expect to find at most hotels. It's this like 6.3 kilowatt chargers. And that's what we've got at ours, which has been fine for charging overnight. And they were actually kind enough to just give us free charging. So we haven't actually paid more than 2 small times for charging. I think our total charging cost so far is probably less than $30. Okay, that charge overnight got us from about 30 or 40 miles to 252 miles. This was something like 16 hours of charge on that little charging station at the valet here. That should suffice us until we're ready to leave.
This is a day we decided to take a quick trip up to Santa Cruz. And as you'll see in a little bit here, we did find the Tesla charging station that was open to non-Tesla vehicles. And that was quite a pleasant experience. But from Ojai all the way up to Carmel, which is most of the Central Valley, we didn't find much charging infrastructure at all. There was only really 2 high-speed charging stations that we found on the map. One of them didn't work and had people waiting for the single charger that was working. And then the one that worked, actually there was like 4 or 5 chargers at that spot. 2 of them didn't work, 1 of them did, and that one is the one that got us past. So we didn't have much of an issue because the Rivian was fine. The mileage estimates were correct, and we were able to plan our route well. So I feel like if you plan your route well, you'll be fine. But if you don't, you could get in quite a bit of trouble in the Central Valley in California still, which is really disappointing and surprising, being that it's California. We're trying to lead the way in electrifying the cars and whatnot. So check this out. We're near Santa Cruz, near Henry Cal Park, and I noticed there was a Tesla charging station that showed up on the Rivian map. And even though we have plenty of charge, I was like, I got to check this out. And man, this experience is just the easiest charging experience so far. I just pulled up to the spot, used the Tesla app. It was very easy to set up, and we're already charging at 280 miles per hour, or 288 miles per hour here. Yeah, which is insane. It's like the fastest I've ever charged. This is excellent. The fact that the Tesla superchargers are now available. Actually, looks like every charger at this station is available to non-Tesla cars. And I think the way you can tell that is with these adapters here. So there is 2 and there's 6 right here, 7. And there's a bunch more over there, and they all have it, which is excellent. This is the one thing I don't like about the Rivian. It's basically like driving a wall. Look at this. It's a wall. You drive this wall at 70, 80 miles an hour, and it's like mass genocide of whatever the hell this bug is. Some of them even have nice bits of blood in them. Okay, this clip is starting to run kind of long, so I want to kind of wrap up my thoughts about the Rivian in general and then also using it for a road trip vehicle. Look, I think you guys know by now I love this truck. This thing is everything I want right now, and there's nothing that's out in the market that I prefer to have more than the Rivian R1T. It checks all the boxes for me. Now, as a road trip vehicle, the only thing I'll say is I was pretty terrified of the range anxiety thing, and of getting stuck in the Central Valley with temperatures during our travel hitting well above 90 degrees. But I think if you plan your trip well, you probably won't have any problems. And this is going through the Central Valley where there was really hardly any high-speed charging. What I will say is don't plan on getting to your next charging destination with only like 20 miles left. If you plan with about 80 miles left on the battery, then I think you'll do just fine. In fact, the Rivian makes a really, really great road trip vehicle for that, in that sense. It was super comfortable and we had a great time. So for the rest of this video, I'm gonna just give you a little bit of a few clips of our travels through the beautiful state of California, and maybe encourage you to take your Rivian on a road trip with your family. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Click that subscribe button, and I hope to see you next time.